Let me plug up my microphone. My goodness, my goodness. This production stuff, hey, it's hard, Okay, so YouTube, welcome back to another episode of my African Centered Travel Vlog right here on YouTube. My name is Akila, and man, I made a whole nother live that I wound up having to delete. I was trying to compact all of this information into a 15-minute video, but YouTube only allows you 15 minutes for videos. It's been a struggle trying to get this information to you guys. So I hope you appreciate it. But in today's video, I am going to be elaborating on a previous video that I titled 5 Things That You Need to Know Prior to Going to Africa. And so I'll be elaborating on tip number 2 of that particular video, which is to check your health prior to traveling to the African continent. And so what I've been doing is taking each one of those tips and creating a separate video, elaborating, going more into depth about what I mean for each tip. And so, like I said, in today's video, I'm going over tip number 2, which is to check your health prior to going to the African continent. And I knew I was going to forget some stuff after I ended the live. That's why I wound up having to delete it and do it again. We'll try it again. Y'all bear with me. I'm new to this YouTube thing. I'm trying to find my on-camera presence. We're going to get it together. Amen. Let the church say amen. Okay, so let me start off by saying traveling the African continent, checking your health prior to traveling the African continent is important because I'm not there with you. You know your own lifestyle choices. You know your own bad habits, and I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to give information, right? So we know our own unhealthy lifestyle habits. And there goes the damn phone again. Ugh. Okay. Can you pause a line? No, I'm just going to have to hang up and call them back. Yeah. Just going to have to hang up and call them back. Shouldn't take that long. Okay, so like I was saying, your unhealthy habits, right? And I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to give you information. And so, if you're the type of person who smokes a lot, you drink a lot, you eat a crappy American diet, you don't exercise, your life is full of stress, you don't want to just haphazardly hop on a plane and go to Africa, right? Because essentially you are leaving natural habitat, going into another environment. And so you'll be sensitive to any common ailments in that environment. And literally, like, the stress alone of the long international flight can be stressful on your body, right? Changing environments can be stressful on your body. And it is essentially that stress on the body that can weaken the immune system and make you more susceptible to catching things. So it's just a smart, good practice way to travel is to check your health prior to going to the African continent. Now, I'm not saying you can't get good health care on the continent because in reality, more developed countries like Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, they all actually have, hospitals that are top level hospitals, with brilliant brains that can compare to something you might see in the West. So I'm not saying that you can't get good health care when you're on the continent. Even myself, I remember one time going to Malawi. I thought I had malaria when I was in the village, and I wound up having to go to a little hospital in Mbangweni, Malawi. Shout out to Kabira Village. And so I thought I had malaria, but I had a really good experience. I went in, I got tested. They gave me a rapid test. It came back negative, but they gave me some medicine for my symptoms and sent me on my way. So it is very possible to get good healthcare on the continent. And neither am I saying if you have health issues that you shouldn't travel to the continent. I'm just all about proactive instead of being reactive, especially when it comes to planning a trip to Africa. And so, for our elderly population who may have, and I'm only saying this because I know against amongst the elderly, it may be common to have health issues. Maybe you have high blood pressure or diabetes, and certainly health issues are not just about being old. Young people, have health issues too. But what I'm saying is that, if you're someone who has health issues, um, don't haphazardly just travel to the continent. Make sure you're being followed by a doctor. Make sure you are um, following your medication regimen. Make sure your health is stable. You just don't want to put yourself into a position where you ruin a perfectly good trip because you didn't prepare properly and you're in the hospital because you sent your body into shock because you just was being all green and stuff, right? And so, one thing I would mention for those who are traveling with medication, that you leave your medication in its original packaging. And so, if it's a prescription, you want to leave it in the prescription bottle. If it's an over the counter medication, you want to leave it in its original packaging because um, customs could make you throw it away if they can't identify what it is. Uh, the plane ride. Let's talk about the plane ride. There are about 3 to 4 common things that people experience with an international flight. And I've experienced all 4 of these things over the years at some time or another. But I just want to share them with you so that you can at least be prepared what to expect. And so, with an international flight, you'll be immobile for a really long time. And so, people tend to have restless leg syndrome or a swelling of the legs and feet because if you're not moving around, that fluid pools in your legs and feet and makes them swell. And so, there's certain things that you can do to minimize that, like just periodically marching in your seat. Keep your legs moving. Periodically walking around the cabin is helpful. Um, on these international flights, they have free alcohol, so something like red wine is good for circulation. Maybe a baby aspirin prior to flying will help with circulation. For women, firm, tight pantyhose that fit snug. For men, pressure socks, things of that nature. Anything that'll fit snug and help with circulation is definitely helpful. Um, Especially if you have something like high blood pressure or something, you definitely want to be mindful of something like that. Popping of your ears is another common thing that you'll might come into during an international flight. My problem with popping of the ears was so bad that literally there's times that I would travel to the African continent and go deaf for a few hours after landing because I allowed my ears to violently pop and I didn't do anything about it. And I wind up developing pulsatile tinnitus. Now, I'll let you Google that. But basically, I have a damaged nerve in my right ear that makes me hear my heartbeat. And it sounds like the swoosh through a stethoscope. Now, I've went and got all kinds of tests to make sure that there's, nothing going on. Pulsatile tinnitus isn't fatal to your health, but it is a nuisance to live with. And because I allow my ears to violently pop during ascending and descending and not doing anything about it for so long, I wound up developing pulsatile tinnitus. And so, chewing gum during ascending and descending while periodically swallowing will definitely lessen the experience of that. Um, you can even buy flight pressure earplugs. I think I got mine at a local grocery store. Amazon probably sells them, but That's another thing that you can do to stop that popping like that. Upset stomach, the turbulence. Now, turbulence can be because of a drunk pilot. No, seriously, that's a thing. I'll let you Google that. Um, but you're not flying the plane, so you don't have any control over that, right? The only thing I would do is just not fly with any of these unknown. Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I'll never fly Turkish Airlines again. Maybe your stomach just doesn't agree with the food on the plane. I mean, that didn't happen a lot, but it's a possibility. I don't know your individual health issues, right? That's why they have these barf bags on the plane. But with an international world travel, to me, it's just good practice if you take some over the counter stuff with you when you're going to Africa. It's not that you can't get these things in the pharmacy in that particular country, but these things typically, especially here in America, may cost you maybe $1 or something at the dollar store. But make sure you get you some like Tylenol just in case you get a headache. You want to take now in relation to the upset stomach. I'm jumping all over the place. In relation to the upset stomach, stuff like Pepto-Bismol. Once you get to the continent, you definitely want to bring something like Imodium AD for diarrhea because you may want to try some street food. It's not recommended for people who have never been to Africa. It's recommended that you drink bottled water and you stay away from the street food just to keep from having, a sickness while you're over there. But just in case you get a little adventurous, I've been there and done that, right? They ain't gonna tell me about Mama Africa. And I didn't. Yeah, I didn't get sick, luckily. But in that case, you feel a little adventurous and street food smelling good and you want to try it, just bring you like some Pepto-Bismol and some stuff for diarrhea, just in case, you eat something and it don't agree with you. You don't have to go to the emergency room. You can just take that medicine and keep it moving, right? It's all about having a smooth trip and coming home safely. That is the flight. And if you were to get there, recommendations as far as food and water. Let's talk about vaccinations. Vaccinations seem to be a big concern for a lot of people. I would start off by doing my research, checking with the embassy of whatever country that you're going to see what vaccines are recommended, because not all countries in Africa scratch that. Contact the embassy, whether it's online, on the phone, whatever, of whatever country that you're going to, and check to see what vaccinations are required to enter the country. Not all African countries require vaccinations. A lot of them will recommend because of the common ailments in the area, but not all African countries require vaccinations to get in the country. So first you want to find out what you may need. Now, a lot of these African countries are offering vaccinations on arrival, but this is one point was the reason why I deleted that last live, that I wanted to make sure that a point I need to relay. So when you're taking a vaccine, you want at least 10 to 14 days to build up immunity, right? So typically it's recommended prior to travel to take your vaccination about 2 weeks to a month before you travel to make sure you build up that immunity prior to putting yourself into that environment, right? But a lot of these African countries are having vaccinations on arrival now. So it's an option, but you just need to be mindful about the period that your body needs to build up immunity, and make that choice for yourself if you want to do that. Now, I know a lot of people are anti-vaccine, but I am not going to tell you don't take vaccines. I get it. I am in the medical profession, and I have my own concerns with vaccines. However, I'm not going to tell you not to take a vaccine because I don't know your health status, right? However, if you are anti-vaccine, you can get an exemption from a naturopathic doctor. You just have to Google and find you a doctor that can get you an exemption for vaccines. Malaria is another big issue on the continent that you'll find needs to be addressed prior to traveling. If you're not aware, malaria is just an infectious virus, gives you upper respiratory symptoms like a flu, and people do die from it. But in all my years of traveling the continent, I have never had malaria, and I'd like to contribute that to two things I want to share with you. And so, like this last trip to Ghana, I was there for about 5 months doing my expatriation research. And every couple months, I just took the over-the-counter malaria medication that you get from the pharmacy within the country, along with I made an all-natural mosquito repellent made out of citronella and lemongrass and some more of the stuff. And so those two things is what I would like to contribute to why I've never had malaria, along with taking vitamin C too. Vitamin C boosts your immune system. And what I'm finding out in this COVID era, in this Rona era, I'd like to share with you guys is that just to give your immune system a boost, period. Hey, boo. There's my son in the chat. I hope you guys are feeling better today. So anyway, I was just, telling the viewers about things that they can do for international travel as far as boosting your immune system. So vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc, all these things you can get over the counter are very good for your immune system. And so vitamin C boosts your immune system. Zinc is an antiviral, and vitamin D will help those two supplements absorb down to the cellular level because we tend not to get enough sun, especially here in America, right? And so that is just a good regimen to be on, period. I've been taking that now, and I've, come in contact with several Rona patients, and I have not developed any symptoms, and I would like to contribute it to that little regimen of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. Check with your doctor to see, what would be a recommended dose, but those three things are definitely helpful. Okay, let's see. We've gone over vaccines, malaria medication, food and water while you're on the continent. Let me check my notes to make sure I'm covering everything. I know a lot of us do not have a doctor. It is what it is, A lot of us are afraid of the hospital. There's a whole post-slavery thing going on about Black people in hospitals and everything. And so I get it. But if you're going to travel to the African continent, like I said, you don't want to do it all haphazardly, especially if you know you don't have healthy habits, right? So you need to get checked out by a doctor. And there's several ways that you can do that if you don't have a primary care physician of your own. Every city in America has a county hospital, and that county hospital has clinics all around the city that will go by your income, just in case you need to see a doctor prior to traveling. The health department is another good resource. The health department has a travel department within it where you can get education on vaccines for which African country, what's recommended, what's required. You can even get an exam prior to traveling. You can even get your vaccinations at the health department. and it may even be a little bit cheaper than actually going to uh, a primary care physician per se. Yeah, so you definitely just wanna get checked out, you know, prior to going. Um, it was something else I wanted to add to that as far as seeing a doctor before you leave. Let me see. I'm looking over my notes again. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. So, the latest news about Ghana, I realized the president did an address a few days ago saying that they would open up Ghana September 1st, but I'm not getting too excited because I've heard that before during this Rona era, and they didn't open for whatever reasons. And I understand them being careful, because the last thing you want to do after you've gotten your numbers down is open the borders to a bunch of foreigners and especially now with America and our numbers here in America being so high. Trust me, I get it. But September 1st is when they say they're going to be opening. And so as of September 1st, I plan on um, getting me a ticket, and I've even got a niece that says that she wants to go with me, and so that'll be quite exciting to be able to share her first time experience with you guys as well if it goes as planned. And so I typically plan my trips out. I have a whole checklist that I'll share in a different video of how I prepare for traveling to the continent. And so if everything goes as planned and Ghana opens up September the 1st, I'll probably plan my trip 6 months out. Like a lot of people, I lost some money during this Rona era. And so savings and stuff that I had towards repatriation have been dipped into. And so, of course, I've got to regroup and everything. But as far as preparing health wise, I just want to say that I've been having a lot of things going on in my personal life. And so I tend to eat for comfort. I don't eat the best. I don't exercise. You know what I'm saying? I know these things about myself. I know my own flaws. However, when I'm going to the continent, I try to get those things in check and I try and be mindful of what I'm putting in my mouth, try and exercise more, drink more water, work on my immune system. Make sure I'm all checked up by the doctor. And so I would just suggest those same things for you, right? And so you'll see, as time goes on and I'm preparing for my next trip to Africa, that how I prepare, right? So I'm just saying, be mindful of your health prior to traveling to the African continent. You just want to make a smooth transition. You don't want any trouble. You want to go enjoy yourself and come back home safely, right? That is the plan. And so I think I've talked too much this video. I think I've given you pretty much all the information you need to know for a basic knowledge for preparations for your first trip to the African continent. And so if you've gotten any valuable information here today that you feel like you can use, please please share. Please hit the notification bell for my latest uploads. And I'll see you in the next video. So remember, Black love is Black power.